All right, we'll keep it going with today's media availabilities here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway with three of our NASCAR Xfinity Series drivers. We're joined by Blake Cook, driver of the number 11 Leaf Filter Gutter Protection Chevrolet, Daniel Hemmick, driver of the number 21 Blue Gate Bank Chevrolet, and Dakota Armstrong, driver of the number 28 JGL Racing Toyota. Daniel, we'll start with you. You're fourth in points so far this season. Can you assess your performance so far this year, and is there any pressure on you to get that first win?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride for us and our 21 team. You know, we've had really high expectations coming into this year, and obviously one of the best opportunities I've ever had, and have a great team and great leadership and crew chief Danny Stockman. And what we wanted to do and what we've been able to do, honestly, haven't quite meshed as far as our performance side of it. We just haven't been able to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, but not a lack of effort. I've made some mistakes. We've made some mistakes with our race team, but at the end of the day, we've constantly been clawing our ways back into this deal and trying to make progress week in and week out and have some solid finishes. And we know that we're more than capable of running up front and contending to be in the top 5 at the end of these races. But we got to get more consistent on my end and across the board to make sure that we can perform here as the year goes and put ourselves in contention once the playoffs start. So just keep making strides and go in that direction.
Outstanding. We'll move over to you, Blake. You're top 12 in points heading into this weekend. What are your team and you guys working on to ensure you're in the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs this season?
Yeah, I mean, just to knock off some finishes, man. The last 8 races, our best 2 finishes were 17th and 19th. So it's been tough, but we've had some good moments in these last 8 races too. You know, we got the pole at Talladega, we won a stage at Daytona. Been pretty fast, showing speed at different tracks. Iowa really fast, and that late caution. So just some bad luck has really prevented us from having some decent finishes over these last 8 weeks. But we're still there. You know, we're still not far off. We're still top 12 in points, and the only thing that really matters is making the Xfinity Series playoffs. I mean, you guys saw it last year. That's all you hear about. That's all you talk about, and that's really all that matters. So. Not really focusing too much on going out there and having spectacular races. It's just we need to run some consistent races and finish in the top 15 about 3 or 4 weeks in a row and get ourselves back in it.
Great. And Dakota, you're top 10 in points right now. You're working on your first trip to the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. Can you talk about your mindset heading into New Hampshire this weekend?
Yeah, no, we've done a good job as a team, just putting ourselves in a position, finishing every single race. Having some really good finishes here in the last couple of weeks with top 5s, but now we've got our place where we just need to go out there and make sure we just keep finishing. We're in a good spot where we have some points for these road courses that we're a little worried about, that we can lose a little points, not worry about too bad. So for us to just keep doing what we're doing, to keep finishing, don't make any mistakes, and I think we're in a good spot. We're sitting pretty good, so we'll see what happens. So I'm excited about it.
Outstanding. With that, we'll open up for questions. If you have a question for one of these guys, please raise your hand and we will get a mic to you. We'll start here with Lewis, then go to Jerry.
Lewis Frank, Reuters. Nice to meet you guys. As drivers coming up, you hear respect for older drivers, Cup drivers, yet you're racing for your own championships. How far would you press a Cup driver to win a stage, to win a Cup race, knowing that maybe one day there'll be some revenge coming back?
Yeah, I feel like we're all very fortunate to be in the situation we're in, and the only way we stay in the situation we're in is if we constantly push, no matter what the situation is or who we're racing against that particular weekend. So, yeah, you're right. Everything does tend to come back full circle in this sport, but on the other side of that, this is our time. We're here for a reason. It's our opportunity to make something out of ourselves, and Xfinity does a great job of giving us that platform to lean on. But on the backside of that, we've also got to know that we can't make fools out of ourselves and put ourselves in a bad situation when we run against those veteran guys, because we will hopefully someday down the road be racing with them. So just trying to use that check and balance the system to make sure that we do the right thing.
Yeah, and for me, I try to I race everybody pretty respectively, no matter if they're racing on Sunday or just with us on Saturday. But I feel like I typically would give a little more respect or room to the Xfinity guys than I would with the Cup guys. I feel like they're racing in our race, and that's just the way I feel.
Yeah, and I think the Cup guys know that too. I mean, you see it like we're with a lot of this strategy with the stages. Like they'll pit sometimes, and they're planning for the end of the race where we're trying to get stage points. So it's just, I don't say it's 2 different races happening, but I think they know that they're going to race as hard, and we're going to race them hard. So I don't think there's any really difference there.
Jerry, go ahead.
Jerry Jordan, KickerTires.net, and Pierre N for any or all. Just did a story for the Bristol Guide about the next generation of drivers, but I didn't include any of you guys because it was for the Cup guys. But how do you feel not being included into the next generation when you really are? You're fixing to take over and come up to the Chases and the Kyles and how does that make you guys feel to know that you are the next generation, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I think that can change at any given moment. You know, if one of us goes out and wins the race tomorrow, you'll see our names starting out of that list. So those names in that article isn't set in stone. It's just kind of where it is right now. But the good thing about our sport is we always have a race the next weekend, at least till Homestead, and we get a chance to prove ourselves or reprove ourselves every single week.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, what Blake said, that's because of current news of what it is, but each and every weekend having that opportunity to change that's the beauty of our sport. We've seen many names made overnight in this sport throughout, you know, the last 10 to 15 years, and obviously even more present now. You're seeing more winners in each series, which makes that opportunity become that much greater. So to know that that's the situation we're in, it's all about you know, taking those chances and bouncing those risks whenever you need to take them, and know that if you can do it at the right time, that your name can be part of those, you know, next group coming up.
And one thing, I think we're actually all up here. We're probably considered old for this sport. So I mean, if you're not 18, they think you're already past your prime. So that's one deal too.
Amy, go ahead.
Amy Harrop, Race Pro Weekly. So this could be for any of you. So what are some of your biggest strengths and weaknesses that you see here at New Hampshire, and things that you're looking to improve on to improve your performance?
Yeah, I would say this track's just tough. Like this is a really technical track. Really, it's one of the most technical we go to. Like you really have to hit your points and make sure your car's working really good through a run. So it's really hard to get all that in one package. I mean, it's tough every week, but here especially, this is a track that can change too with, you know, the grip and all that. And then there's some little bit of variables. We don't really know how the track's going to be. So for us, it's just go out there, make sure it feels pretty good, and that normally gets you in the right spot. And then you have to tweak on it here and there. So, and for us, we just have to make sure we go out and we do as best we can. This is a track where I feel like we can run really well. So we're really looking to capitalize on it.
It's actually funny because Blake and I were just talking before we walked up here about how we feel the most confident in our race teams, you know, both being affiliates with RCR and or him being a, you know, affiliate and us, you know, being teammates in a roundabout way, that we feel the most confident in our short track package right now, and we've struggled a little bit on the mile and a half side. So when we come to these places, I'm sure he'd say the same thing, that we as drivers put even that much more emphasis on doing every little bit of studying we can to know it is, you know, an opportunity like Dakota said to capitalize, and that's the ultimate goal. That's what leads to the opportunity to make it to the playoffs and all that stuff. You got to have a good weekend here.
Yeah, the strengths here are that it's a short track, and like Daniel said, we run good at the short tracks. Most of the RCR cars do. The weaknesses here that you have to think about really are just how strategy plays in, especially with the stage racing. We'll be doing that for the first time here. And I remember last year, at one point, I was battling for 18th or 19th, and I felt like we were pretty decent. But then we stayed out and had track position, and I was battling for 6th and 7th, and we were running the same lap time. So track position is going to be big, and it's going to be pretty tricky to get it because you don't know really what everybody else is going to do when those cautions come out.
We'll go right here to Brad.
Brad Norman with NASCAR.com for Blake. You mentioned earlier that it's really kind of all about the playoffs. We saw you last year knock off some really, really good finishes and make a great run. Is your team capable of doing that again this year, do you feel like?
Yeah, last year when the playoffs started, we stepped it up quite a bit, and I feel like I work a lot better with a little bit of like on the aggressive side, you know, being on the bubble or outside the bubble trying to get in, or with like a nothing to lose kind of mindset than I do of playing like guarding my points, and I don't really do well in those situations. So when it's time to go, when it's go or go home, I feel like we can go hard, and we can turn some heads and knock off some good finishes.
Anything else for these three gentlemen here? Go back to Lewis.
Lewis Frank, Reuters again. Dan, you mentioned RCR. Ryan Newman loves to race the K&N cars here, and I know it's a very different power to weight ratio, but any desire to try one of those cars? The race it's like Talladega for these cars here, it seems.
Yeah, the Tour Type Modifieds. Yeah, not the K&N series. Yeah, you're right. No, he actually, you know, I ran a good bit of those growing up. I ran some a good bit in the Southern Modified Tour. Ran a lot of races up here in the north at Thompson and Stafford, and a couple places in the Northern Modified Tour. And one of the most fun vehicles I've ever drove, to be honest with you, because of the reason Ryan loves doing it. You typically, it's all hard-nosed racers. You know, we're talking about us being the old ones up here. It's now that side of it's changing a little bit, but forever when I ran it was the youngest guy in the field was probably 35, and I was the guy that was 19 getting used up by Teddy Christopher or somebody at Thompson. So they're a lot of fun to drive, and I know why he enjoys doing it.
Jerry, did you have a question? All right. Gentlemen, thank you for your time, and good luck on Sunday.